Sorry, I had to take a quick break, guys, but we're back. And so Konami, I think we're done with that topic. We'll just move right on. Tech, you said you had a topic, so we'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, everybody's is kind of split up on, like, they either hate No Man's Sky or they love it. Me and Stan haven't gotten to play it yet, but it's something we both want to play. We've been wanting to play it for a long time. Or I know I have. I'm pretty sure Stan has wanted to play it for a long time. I know in one of Stan's videos he mentioned it was kind of overhyped, and partly because they probably announced it way too soon. Maybe they should have waited a couple years to even announce it. Because when when you have a long wait, you get anticipated and you got high expectations. Sometimes your expectations can really be higher than what can be met and everything. I know some people have commented that, it seems like, it's just a bunch of repetitive, procedurally generated stuff and everything. Well, whenever you have a huge game, there's only so much different activities that can be in there, I mean, even if you put a wide variety of things, eventually you're going to have to do some things more than once, because it's like how many different activities can be placed in an infinite procedurally generated, universe, galaxy, whatever it's supposed to be. And the main thing about repetitiveness, because I mean, you look at any game, any of our favorite games over the years and stuff, there's always repetition in it. The main thing is that repetition, that activity that you're doing that you have to do again and again. Is it fun, or is it tedious, or is it boring? So
that's I think that's the argument. Is a lot of people are saying that the repetition here is just flat out they're bored, which is fine. It's one of those polarizing things. A lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of this because it's so much of a huge universe that you're never going to see everything. So a lot of people are going to get value out of this. A lot of people are fine with that aspect of the vagueness of the world and the continuation to explore. And then some people are just going to find themselves bored really quickly. It depends on how much time you have to devote to something like that. Elite Dangerous, which I know Tilgar Pole has been saying that it's a different game fundamentally, that this game's more of an exploration game, more of a survival game, whereas Elite Dangerous is more of a space flight sim and a trading sim. But even with Elite Dangerous, it's our Milky Way galaxy, and it's, I think, 80%, I would say 98% procedurally generated. There is the known star systems, there is the known black holes, the known stuff that they have handcrafted these little worlds, like the solar system. They handcrafted that. They handcrafted ones that we know quite a bit about, and that's really unique. But even then, there's only so much you can do. It is that daily grind. It is that daily repetitiveness, and that. One of the things that I think that has hurt No Man's Sky is the fact that when they said every atom is procedurally generating, well, no, it's not. That was a little misleading, and the marketing team did do some misleading things, and unfortunately, the games media press ran with that. Total Biscuit put out a video called that he will talk about No Man's Sky for 40 minutes, and I agree with a lot of what he had to say about. Well, is there multiplayer or is there not? Well, yeah and no. No, you can't really meet anybody like we led you on to believe. And, Euros Gamer published a quote from the developer, So it was mismarketed a little bit. There was a little bit of miscommunicating the message of the game, over hyping the game. But anybody that thought that it was going to be, I don't think it's people's fault that they thought that this was going to be something more because they were led to believe that. I just think that when it comes practically to it, have you ever seen anything like that before? PS4 is not a big jump for the PS3. Is it really that possible to do that? Do you know any other MMO games that do that? Do you know any other procedurally generated worlds that do that? No, because we've just not got there yet. And you got to think, how much resources are they going to develop for this game? Because like I said in that same video, you would have to to make every single star system unique. You'd have to you would have to build cajillions of resources. You'd have to like make a cajillion heads for this animal, or a cajillion arms, and a cajillion body types, and relatively that's not possible to put out an infinite amount of things like that, in my opinion. I don't they've got to develop the resources, and that procedurally generation is going to draw from those resources, and if the resources aren't there, sorry, you're going to see some repetitiveness. And I think people should have tempered their expectations to that. So what do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure there's a large, probably not an infinite combination of procedurally generated things, but even if they didn't do, like you said, a cajillion different types of assets, there's probably still a large number. I wouldn't be able to even guess like the actual limitations of the actual number of combinations of different like types of creatures and worlds and stuff that can actually be generated. But even if there's a limit to it, I would say that even though, obviously some things are going to be the same, no matter where you go, you're going to see a lot of similarities, but the appearance of things, there's probably going to be enough to make enough, like each planet you go to at least look different from the last planet you went to. You're probably going to pretty much be doing the same thing from each planet to planet, but looking different, making things appear different. It doesn't necessarily have to be an endless combination where you'd never, ever, ever see the same thing twice. You're probably going to see like something that's close to something you've seen before at some point as you continue to explore. But as long as it can make it look different enough to where it's interesting each time you go to it, and like, oh, hey, this is kind of a cool combination, the colors on this planet, or, the terrain and stuff like that. Obviously, there's limitations to really the number of combinations.
And that comes back to gameplay limitations too, as well, because what a lot of the complaints are is that, oh great, I finally get to move to that next star system. Well, you know what? I'm doing this exact same objectives I was at this last star system. They haven't really changed all that much. And like I said, a lot of people are going to get bored. I don't think that this game should have been marketed towards the mass market. It was fortunate for Hello Games that it did, but I think that the true audience of this game is more niche than people were led to believe. And I just think that, yes, the game is going to be repetitive. Yes, the game is it's a play box. It's a playground, and I don't know. That's my opinion on that.
Right. But again, even though me and you kind of, whenever we eventually do both get to get the game and everything, we're kind of going to go into it though knowing that stuff to begin with, and I feel like I'm okay with that, because in a way, Elite Dangerous, it's the whole Milky Way galaxy. Even if it's not an infinite universe, you can't go everywhere in the Milky Way galaxy. Elite Dangerous, it's just you would never.
Here's the thing: is I think that. Yeah, I knew this a year ago. I spoke up about this a year ago when they first announced it at the last Tokyo Game Show, or was it Gamescom? When they they finally set the release date. I talked about this a year ago that this game was overhyped. It was way overhyped, and it probably is hitting the wrong audience. So a lot of people don't know what to expect going into the game. They've purchased the game thinking that it was going to be this big grand thing, and it's really a lot more tempered down to that. There are several things that were mentioned that you just can't do. Like when they said you're taking on massive fleets of factions and all these wars and stuff like we've seen in Elite Dangerous, they're talking about 5 ships instead of the hundreds that we've seen in Elite. Another thing is like when they say you can attack a freighter, well, you can you physically take it on and destroy it by yourself? Because you're going to get wrecked. So don't think that that's going to be an easy task either. You can't land on asteroids. There's a bunch of things that were said that you could do that you can't do, and realistically, it wouldn't be prudent to do so. So
you think maybe they were things they wanted to do, and maybe it was just a little bit too much in the actual execution of it.
Here's the thing is, they announced this game back at the VGX Awards in, I think it was 2014 or 2013. I think it was 2013. And here we are 3 years later. They said, they delayed the game once. Everybody was like, okay, because this game was supposed to come out in 2015. They delayed the game once to June 2016. And everybody's like, okay, but then they delayed it again, and now we see fanboys who got overhyped sending death threats. So now on your third delay, you really got to stick by it because, people are just ugly on the internet, and they shouldn't be. So maybe there was a deadline issue and some mechanics that they had to pull out just to make it to get the product out of there timely. And with Sony investing money into this project and letting it run rampant for 3 years on an indie game, I think we've got to have a lot more realer expectations.
Right. All that aside, I still want to play it, even if there's going to be repetition, because a lot of our favorite games repetition. I'm playing Skyrim right now, and it's an awesome, huge world, but some of the things you do are, you go and you kill some bandits or some Draugr or skeletons or, this or that, and, you rinse and repeat that in different dungeons and stuff. There's enough difference, though, because it's not procedurally generated to where, you got different things here and there and stuff. But there's always repetition. I mean, no matter what kind of game you have, there's going to be repetition in activities. You're going to do the same thing here as you do over here in this mission or quest. I
agree. So I think it's what type of repetition is it? For an example, I was sold on the MMO experience of Destiny, and I thought I was going to love that, and it turned out that it was just a wave shooter with pretty vague plot holes, and I ended up hating it. And I think that I've got more realistic expectations going into this. So, like you said, I think I'm going to enjoy this too. I'm wanting to enjoy it. I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy it. But I think I have a lot more realistic expectations than when I had with Destiny, because I really wanted Destiny to be that MMO experience on the console. Lots of story, lots of expansion, lots of narrative, and not necessarily a wave thing, more of a dungeon shooter. But it ended up being a wave shooter, and it is what it is. So
yeah, I get what you're saying now. I like Destiny. Even when I finished it, I didn't I didn't get as upset about it as you do. I have disappointments with Destiny, but I mean, I liked what it had. For me, what I was disappointed in is I feel like what it had was not as much as I was expecting. I was expecting something a lot more massive, a lot more expansive. What I was expecting from Destiny, I ended up finding later in Fallout 4, and now with Skyrim. In fact, probably more so in Skyrim than even Fallout 4.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just that. But now, granted, those are single player games, and maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe Destiny couldn't do the same thing and be multiplayer and co-op at the same time. Maybe if it had been just a single player game, maybe it would have been as massive and as expansive as what we were hoping for. But because I remember when we played the alpha and the beta, we thought that was just such a small part of the game.
Right. And it ended up being the majority of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what disappointed me about it.
Our disappointment in Destiny and me being angry at it after playing it. I can see why people are angry at No Man's Sky. I understand why they're angry at No Man's Sky, because they thought they were getting one thing and they got something completely a lot more tamer. But that being said, I'm looking forward to playing it though.
I am too. I still am. I still think because I enjoyed Elite Dangerous despite its repetitions. I mean, because you're there's only so much originality you can put in that too, just because of the hugeness of it and using procedurally generated stuff. And the thing with one of the things I'm looking forward to in No Man's Sky is one of the things that I really wanted to do in Elite but never really got to because I never got the DLC was the Horizons. Where you could land on planets and stuff. But even that had limitations to it. Like, you could get out in a little, little kind of rover vehicle things, but you couldn't get out of them or nothing. With No Man's Sky, you're going to be able to, fly in space. You're going to be able to land on planets, get out of your ship, walk around and explore the planet, even have some slight first-person shooter mechanics without really being a first-person shooter kind of thing.
One of the things that I think that I would want out of No Man's Sky that I don't think we're going to get is the multiplayer was like, maybe you will see other players, more than likely you won't. Well, they should have just said, no, you won't. It's a single-player game. It's online connectivity, and here's what's going on. They're naming stuff. You're seeing the database of a shared universe, but you're not actually playing with other people. And I wish that message would have been a little bit more clear.
Yeah,
because I do want to play with other people, and that's one of the things that
even if it's only occasional.
Yeah, even if it's only occasional, I do want to see other people, and so I'm already disappointed on that heading into the game. But like I said, I still want to play it.
Yeah. So. And exactly, because the way they did make it out was that it would probably be rare, but that would almost make it cooler. Like, hey, there's somebody else in this system. Let's go meet up with them and and see what's going on. I know now that I know a couple streamers were the ones that did that experiment, trying to go to the same system, the same place at the same time, and they were like even the whole the time of day and everything, even though they were there at the same time, the time of day on the planet for each of them was different, and they were even in the same spot and apparently didn't run into each other.
Maybe this is something that you can digitally fix, though, with a patch or something that, you can add it to the game later on. I don't know. As of now, people have tried to meet up and not been able to. So.
And maybe again, it's still like early phase, because I know Elite Dangerous from the get go, you could encounter other players. It was hard for two people to know each other to meet up.
On Elite Dangerous, I need to say this: is Elite Dangerous came out in expansions with considerable updates to gameplay and community and how things work. For example, when Elite Dangerous first came out, all you pretty much were doing is going around doing the missions or hanging out in a asteroid cluster bounty hunting, right? So that's what you were doing. And in order to get to the same instances, people had to follow you directly into the instance. Now, you couldn't buddy up with people. You could just say, hey, I'm in this star system, I'm at this instant, and they show up there. But finally they put out the Wings update, and then we got the where you could actually get into a squad and actually have a mechanic where, okay, here, I'm going to drop a beacon for you to follow me here, and share a little bit of bounty and sharing, because none of that was in the initial game. You couldn't share bounty, you couldn't share cargo, there was none of that. And now that was there because of the Wing update. And then we got the other update where they expanded the universe with the characters. I forgot what the name of that update was. But that wasn't there, where there was more story arc going on.
The engineers, or was it not? It was the one before that. the powers or something.
Yeah,
the
powers. Yeah, the powers.
You know what I'm talking about, like
expansion,
where it kind of like had changed the maps, and you had specific people in charge that gave you like new, different kind of missions than what were there before. But it still didn't really. It was actually maybe we actually ended up not doing that. We did it for a little while and then went back to the regular way.
The reason we didn't do it is because it was you had to play pretty much every day to make that system work, and for a lot of people that were playing Elite, it worked out for them. For me, that was only playing once a week. No, it was. This isn't realistic to keep my powers.
Because at that point, we weren't playing every day. Because we had before that, we were actually playing every day. But by the time it got to that point, we were kind of moving on to other stuff. So it wasn't an everyday thing anymore. But for us at that point.
Right.